Yo, what's good, YouTube, and welcome back to episode 42 of Shoot It Straight. This is our transfer deadline day special. The transfer window has just closed 46 minutes ago as we're recording, so it is literally just closed. Deals have just finally got over the line. So many crazy deals have happened. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to go ahead and thank y'all for the continued support we've been getting. Obviously, we're up to 719 subscribers on this channel, and we appreciate that so much. I mean, we remember when we pretty much had nothing, so we're so close to our ultimate goal of 1,000. So we appreciate everyone who's hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, even just viewed a video. We appreciate the continued support, and we're gonna keep pumping out the content.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like you said, we appreciate every single one of you subscribing. I mean, we couldn't imagine this when we were happy with 100 subscribers. Now we're about 270 away from 1,000. Our ultimate goal, the goal we set out when we first started this. So we're really excited, but not to dread on that for so long. We've got to get right into the main thing where we're talking about here. Transfer deadline just ended, and what a time what a time. I mean, definitely up there with one of the craziest windows ever, and it definitely lived up to deadline day. I mean, when has there never been a deadline day that's been exciting? And this one definitely lived up to it. So I think we should get right into it.
Yeah, and I think without further ado, I mean, there's only one signing on deadline day to talk about first here. We've talked about it before on the channel and given our thoughts, but it is officially confirmed. And I know you probably want to take the lead on this, introducing it. Yeah,
the saga has finally ended. Chelsea have acquired their man Enzo Fernandez for a record deal, 120 odd million euros, dollars, around that price. And it's been a roller coaster of emotions. We came on here, we confirmed it, then the conversations broke down. They said they didn't want to sell him, wasn't happening, and then deadline day, it just had to happen. So obviously, coming from a neutral, I want to pass this to you as a Chelsea fan. What does this mean for the club in the bigger picture and in this Todd Boehly era?
I mean, for the big picture of the club, this is an absolutely monumental signing for Chelsea Football Club. This is a signing that it's not only going to help us now, but obviously it's going to help us for the future. But this is a statement to the footballing world that Chelsea Football Club, led by Todd Boehly and this new ownership, is here, and it is here to stay for the long term. This is a transfer that not only cements us now as a contender, potentially to come from 10th all the way to top 4, but then also I think we have a chance to compete in the Champions League. I'll get into that. This is a statement signing, and Todd Boehly, he's done it again. This is something we have seen throughout time and time again in this transfer window. When he wants to get it done, he goes and gets it done. And it looked as if this was not going to happen. And then all of a sudden, a day ago, we get the reports that Todd Boehly personally has flown to Portugal and he's going to make this transfer happen. And then as soon as I saw that, I had this belief that Todd Boehly, he is not going to just go there and go to Portugal and not get this deal done. And somehow he got it across the line, because Rui Costa, this guy is the most stubborn footballing president I have ever seen. I mean, this guy was so rooted to the spot on what he wanted for Enzo Fernandez. And I don't know how Chelsea eventually got them to agree, because these guys were negotiating and in meetings, so-called, for, hours, days almost. It's absolutely unbelievable. But this is a signing that is so key to Chelsea in terms of on the pitch. It does a lot for the club off the pitch, but then on the pitch is obviously where people care about the most. This is exactly what Chelsea needed. This is a world-class midfielder, a guy who's only going to get better, a guy who we saw just how good he was in the World Cup for Argentina. Argentina were two different teams in this World Cup. There was pre-Enzo Fernandez when they were losing to Saudi Arabia, and then post-Enzo Fernandez when they ultimately never lost another game and went on to win the World Cup. That is just how key he was for that, and that's why he went for such a high price tag. I mean, I get it. And, there was a time where I was sitting there saying, I don't know if we spend this type of money on Enzo Fernandez, but now that we've done it, I think it's a good signing. It is potentially a bit expensive, obviously. I mean, it's now a new Premier League record. But for me, this is a game-changing signing. This not only puts us in position to compete and potentially somehow crawl out of 10th place and get potentially back in the top 4 hunt, but also I think Chelsea Football Club has a chance to compete in the Champions League. And I know it sounds crazy, a team that's 10th in the league competing for the Champions League. I think that it is possible because of all of these new signings. We have pretty much filled up every weakness, and Chelsea is getting very fit. But I don't want to get too carried away and talking about that yet because we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that. I'm sure you want to give your thoughts on the signing as well.
Yeah, I think, like you said, this is a very huge statement signing to Chelsea, and in most ways, it's a position that they've been struggling in. They just got rid of Jorginho, and I think they wouldn't have let Jorginho go if they weren't 100% kind of knowing that we're gonna get our guy.
Agreed.
And it'll be what happened. But for the bigger picture, I think Chelsea, they have a good problem. They still have a problem, but it's a good problem to have. You have a lot of players that are now new to your system, and now you have also a new coach. So now you have to get all these players on the same page. And you're already mentioning Champions League and top four. I mean, that's going to be already a tall ask, because I feel like this season, Chelsea should be happy if maybe they finish 5th or 6th, because I mean, yeah, you have all these signings, but everybody has to get on the same page. I mean, to be in the Premier League, especially to win a Champions League, it's more about who gets hot. And the odds that a team that's kind of been thrown all together in January can get hot like that is highly unlikely. Am I going to fully rule it out? So there's no shot? Not necessarily, but they're definitely not up there as watch out for Chelsea necessarily, just because, I mean, you have a lot of great players, but you're still lacking in a proper center forward, and they're still lacking a proper goalkeeper, and they have a bit of a problem with right back and left back, because Reece James, he's getting fit again, but who's to say he doesn't get another nick and you're in the same position that you were this entire season, that you almost can't win without him. I mean, there's a point Chelsea fans are like, oh, we're not scoring goals because we don't have Reece James. Your right back? You can't score goals because you don't have your right back? Like, it's hopefully Enzo Fernandez, he's this guy that can, he's willing to make these plays. And Joao Felix to a certain extent, and Mudryk, people that you're going to rely as to be playmakers for this team instead of just Reece James. You want Reece James to do his job defensively, but also help a little bit in the attack. But overall, it's a great bit of business, and it does pose this new question that where does this rank in overall transfer windows of all time, especially in January? Is this the greatest January transfer window of all time from a singular club?
For me personally, I tend to believe that this is the greatest January transfer window of all time. And obviously there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, first of all, before this transfer window by Chelsea, for the most part, January was only a window where maybe clubs pick up 1 to 2 players that can kind of catapult them to where they want to go for that season, whether that's winning the Champions League or competing for their league title. This is not a window when you typically see clubs pretty much overhaul their entire kind of starting 11 or, club in general. But Chelsea, I think, they have done that. And I think that this is going to change the way January transfer windows work from here on in. I think this is almost a trend-setting move from Chelsea because, normally we only see big transfer windows like this in the summer. I mean, this is unprecedented for a club to spend almost 600 million in January. That's literally unheard of. It's never been done. So I think this is obviously, for me, the greatest January transfer window of all time. But that's kind of because there's never even been something like this. No one has ever signed so many players in January. No one has ever rebuilt their entire squad in January. It's typically a summer thing. So, obviously in January transfer windows, I think you rank it number 1. I don't think that there's even a window off the top of my head and through research that can even compare, because no one has ever done this. But I think a comparison that can be had is to summer transfer windows and where does it rank all time in just transfer windows in general. And, after kind of looking back throughout history, obviously there was some fantastic summer transfer windows. And obviously the one that comes to mind is your club, Real Madrid, when they were able to sign Benzema, Ronaldo, Kaká.
Winners.
I mean, there's 3 Ballon d'Or winners in one window. Obviously, it's going to take... I to be honest, I don't think that window will ever be beaten as the greatest of all time. I mean, signing 3 Ballon d'Or winners in one window, it's pretty much never going to happen again.
And even in recent history, when PSG signed, they got Messi, Wijnaldum, Ramos, Donnarumma, and Hakimi. That's up there. And I think this transfer window is definitely, is it the greatest of all time in general? Not necessarily, but it's definitely in recent memory, definitely top 5. I mean, easily. But as far as January's work, you are correct. I mean, teams don't really make this much moves in January, but I think it is a perfect circumstance because, Chelsea got a new owner right before January, and he immediately wanted to get to work. There was no break that Todd Bowley wanted to take. And in this part where Man United are in a bit of they're selling the club, they don't really have an owner that's going to commit as much money as Todd Bowley because he's trying to sell
loans. Yeah,
he's only willing to do loans, and same with Liverpool. I mean, Liverpool is selling the club, and they don't have really.
They signed Gakpo. That's it.
Yeah, and that was they don't really have the backing like Todd Bowley's have, and I mean, City normally really do their business in the summer. I mean, everybody knows that City's usually the club that breaks the bank and throws all the money in the God's earth, but this one, Chelsea just have decided to blow everything out of the water because the only thing comparable is single player signings like maybe Virgil van Dijk, Luis Suarez, maybe even Real Madrid signing Marcelo when he was a youngster when he was 20. But when we're talking in bulk, like Chelsea have signed about what looks to be 6 to 7 players that half of them are starters. For sure starters, and a lot of them are great rotation players. Overall, it's almost without a doubt. I can't really think because they definitely don't. None of these players are better than Virgil van Dijk or even Luis Suarez and stuff like that. But it's just the quantity of it's quality and quantity at the same time. So it's definitely easily the greatest.
And I think what's special about this transfer window, and it's almost even hard to compare it to some of these other windows. A lot of these players, they have not hit what they're going to be considered their peak. Mudryk, obviously, we expect him to take a leap and potentially be one of the best wingers in the world. Obviously, he's not that right now. We expect him to contribute right now and be a very quality winger, but we're not expecting him to be the world's best winger. Maybe at some point throughout his Chelsea career, you would expect that because of the price tag we paid.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult to kind of rank this because it's so early in a lot of these guys' careers. Like Enzo Fernandez, for example, we know he's a world-class midfielder, but we don't know this guy could end up being considered, a top 5 midfielder of all time. Then
realistically,
we're gonna look back at this window and be like, okay, now it's time to even move this up, maybe even a little higher, maybe even this window. Realistically, it's not going to overtake Real Madrid's window when they signed 3 Ballon d'Or winners. Because I don't think there's 3 Ballon d'Or winners out of this list of players, obviously. But I think that there's a possibility that depending on how these careers kind of play out, that this could be number 2. This is going to change Chelsea Football Club, and if Chelsea Football Club becomes the powerhouse I think that they will become under Todd Bowley, these guys will have to be the catalyst behind that. And from what I'm hearing from reports, that Todd Bowley is extremely serious about turning Chelsea into a winning football club. They're already a winning football club, but I mean a powerhouse.
Somewhat.
I mean a club that you hold in the same regard as a Real Madrid and things like that. Chelsea's not in that same conversation. They're up there. They're a very big club. But Real Madrid is almost in a bracket of its own. But you know what I'm saying? They're
even in London's sake. I mean, Arsenal has always been the biggest club in London, even when they were bad. I mean, they still have the most revenue brought in. I mean, they're up there with Manchester United as those are the two. Yeah, those are the main clubs in England. Those are the 2 with the most history, and that's probably where you have to start first. I mean, first, I'm sure Todd Bowley is looking at it first we have to be the best club in London. Then we have to be the best club in England, and then so on and so forth. So and it's definitely it's a refreshing thing because obviously most Europeans look at American owners as this is just an investment to them. They don't really care, and Todd Bowley has just kind of changed that to where this guy just wants to win. I mean, he's owned franchises before. I mean, I forget what other franchises did he own. The Dodgers. I mean,
I think he also has a stake in the Lakers, but it's not a huge stake.
This is a guy that loves sports and he's getting into a new one, and he wants to prove that maybe he's not the most genius mind of football ever, but he's willing to throw everything he's got at it to at least hit. I mean, you signed 7 players. All 7 are not going to be very good, but at least 5 or 4 are going to be very solid and world class.
I mean, if you really think about it, look, I think Nkunku, first of all, the price we got Nkunku for is probably
Yeah.
the best quote unquote deal of the
Steal,
bunch,
yeah.
because that's a steal in my opinion. It was like reported like almost 60 million, I think 54, something like that.
60, yeah.
And that's obviously, it's going to be confirmed in the summer. It's not joining yet. But then if you look at the rest of the signings, Badiashile, that's the one that kind of went under the radar because of so many guys we've signed, but he has been a very good center back in the matches he's played so far. Joao Felix, he's on loan obviously, but it remains to be seen kind of how good he's going to be if he's going to officially sign in the summer on a full transfer, not just a loan. But then you got Mudryk, you got Andre Santos, who is supposed to be a really good Brazilian talent. I've loved what I've seen from him so far. You got Fofana. David Datro Fofana, the striker. Malo Gusto, who's joining in the summer. Noni Madueke, and then now Enzo Fernandez. This is an absolutely unbelievable January transfer window. And like I said, it's going to change the way Chelsea Football Club is perceived in England and globally. The Chelsea are becoming a powerhouse, and they've already pretty much rebuilt their squad. When the summer transfer window comes around, there's not much left to do. I think they only realistically need a 9 and a goalkeeper.
You can say, like you can say there's not much left to do, but I think you're still lacking in. I think the biggest thing that was wrong with Chelsea is the number 9 position. That's been almost the curse of the entire club. Yeah, and that's still, it's easy, but still very difficult because the amount of 9s Chelsea's ran through, that it's looked like, I thought there's no way Lukaku could fail. I thought it was impossible, but they found a way. It's a cursed position at Chelsea, and they're lacking goalkeeper, and I still think they're possibly one midfielder away. If I were Todd Bowley, need one more. I would be looking at Declan Rice as that final guy. To finally certify that midfield for like the next 10 plus years. To have Declan Rice, but for number 9, it's up there. It's up there because there's not a lot of number 9s in the world that are currently available. It's tough to say. But it's definitely a good problem to have, that it looks like it's one piece away, but they're going to have to do a city route and make Havertz work at the moment and make these makeshift 9s or center forwards work.
Yeah, and that's obviously going to be an issue. That's the thing. It's like you make these signings, and obviously a lot of them are future based, but obviously a lot of people want to see success right now, and I think these guys can help success right now. Look, if we can't play better with all of these guys in the Premier League and potentially at least move on in the Champions League, beat Dortmund, we'll see from there who we play.
I think Chelsea should have kept Tammy Abraham. To be fair, I really like Tammy Abraham, but
we have a buyback clause on him, so it's an option.
I think that's something they should look at, because it's better than maybe you could save it and just try. Because Tammy Abraham did have a great start, but he did. Hit bad form, and unfortunately, as soon as you hit bad form in England, they turn against you, and then they
went and got Lukaku instead. Exactly. Yeah. And looking back on it, looks like that was the wrong decision.
They probably should have kept Abraham, but that's an option. But not to make this a full 3-hour Chelsea episode.
To be fair, you could after this window.
There is other clubs that did business in January, so I think we should get into the next one.
And without further ado, we talked about all of these players that Chelsea brought into the club, but there was only one official departure from the club, and that would be Jorginho. And that's one maybe people didn't necessarily expect him to go. It kind of came out of nowhere, but
I think a lot of Chelsea fans are definitely not heartbroken over it. There's a lot of people that wanted Jorginho out. There's a lot of people that thought Jorginho has been very overrated. Even when he made I think he finished 3rd in Ballon d'Or. He was nowhere near the 3rd greatest player, but it's still undeniable to what he did for this club. He was a winning player, and he was a part of that transformation. And I don't think this is seen as at first I was like, why is usually don't see London to London transfers, just because Arsenal are a direct rival to Chelsea, but I think the season's a bit of a Chelsea aren't really in contention to win the league, so it's like what's the worst giving them Jorginho, and Jorginho, not like he has 5 years left in him. Realistically, Jorginho probably has 2 seasons in him left. And he's just kind of going to be a rotation player for Arsenal. Arsenal have been lacking a bit of depth, and this definitely adds a veteran like Jorginho. He's going to fit perfectly into what they're trying to do. Jorginho's a winner. and they're trying to win the Premier League. They're trying to calm down their young guys, and for like Saka and all these other guys to look at Jorginho, guy who's won the Champions League, who knows about winning. I mean, he won a Euros with Italy. That's definitely the right fit, and it's a good fit for what Arsenal are trying to do this season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it is. I mean, it's not necessarily super rare because we've seen a fair amount of times that players move from Chelsea to Arsenal. I mean, thinking about David Luiz, Petr Cech, now Jorginho. Ashley Cole went the other way from Arsenal to Chelsea.
Ashley Cole.
So it's not totally unprecedented. It is rare, but it's not unprecedented. And what I'll say is that this is one of the rare times in football that I think that this is a deal that truly suits everybody. This is a deal that look. Firstly, Arsenal. They needed squad depth. They needed midfielder depth. They were realistically one injury to either Xhaka or Partey away from having a midfield crisis, you could say, because they don't have another guy that can really play that position from in Arteta's system. And we know, historically speaking, that Arteta has always been a big fan of Jorginho. So that's why he wanted to bring him in. And Jorginho, this is a guy who I think he can bring that leadership factor to Arsenal. I think that this is a guy, like you said, he's a proven winner.
He was a captain. I mean, he was the captain of Chelsea for multiple games. And
he can bring leadership.
Captain Italy, I believe, as well. Or was that always Bonucci or...
I think...
Well, you just say he was a leader in the midfield.
A leader, for sure. I don't know about for sure if he was the captain or not. But I think my point is, for Arsenal, this is a very, very good signing. I mean, 12 million is not realistically that much. And to get squad depth like that and to get a player that is Premier League proven, a guy that you can plug in immediately and play him if you need to, and you know what he's going to do, you know what he's going to give you. I think that's something it's a very underrated aspect. And I rate this move for Arsenal. And, is this going to be the move that 100% wins them the Premier League? No, but this is a move that kind of, it's a chess move, it's something that can get them on the right path and help them in that pursuit. They still might not win it, I'm not sure, but this is a move that's going to definitely help them, and I think in that category. But then for Chelsea,
I would have to agree.
For Chelsea, this is a guy who, although a lot of fans might not have
love him or hate him,
but what I'll say, in a way, Jorginho is a club legend. For what he was able to do in this midfield. This is the guy. When Maurizio Sarri got sacked, people wanted him out. They said, oh, he's the Sarri guy. He's only good in Sarri's system. Well, he totally proved the doubters wrong. He won, besides the Premier League, he pretty much won all the major trophies you could win, at Chelsea. Obviously, won the Champions League, won the Super Cup, won the, I forget what, the Club World Cup. This guy won all the European competitions that you could win. And this guy was a main catalyst behind that. He very much so helped the midfield, very good at retaining possession. So I think Jorginho is low-key a club legend, but, that's neither here nor there. To get 12 million for a guy who was going to leave for free in 6 months is a great deal. There's no way you can slice the pie that it isn't a good deal. You're getting 12 million for a guy that's leaving for free. Although it is to your direct rival, to Arsenal, this is a guy you were going to lose him for free and you got 12 million. That's a good deal for Chelsea, good deal for Arsenal. I think always around, very good deal for all parties involved. And, if Arsenal win the Premier League, I don't want to see them win the Premier League, but if they do, I'll be happy for Jorginho because he deserves the Premier League title. But I won't be happy about Arsenal winning, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean, in other news, we got what's else after that? Jorginho, a bit of a shocker that kind of came out of nowhere, but now more news has come out of it. We understand why it happened. Was Joao Cancelo leaving Manchester City on loan to Bayern Munich. And this one, when I saw it, I couldn't believe it, really. I was like, Joao Cancelo, a guy that a couple weeks back we were saying was the best fullback in the world. Yeah. And City have just up and said, you know what, we've had enough. We're done with him. And the news ended up reporting that he had a bust up with Pep Guardiola before the Arsenal clash when he was told that he was not going to start. And he threw a fit and said, you know what, just get rid of me, then not trade me, but sell me. And that's what happened. And, I'm a bit surprised, but I mean, if Chelsea are so, not Chelsea, but Man City are so deep, I guess they don't really mind getting rid of them. But, I mean, this was a shocker. It's a great move for Bayern Munich, but I can only really see this as a Madrid fan. I'm scratching my head. I mean, this guy is perfect. This guy is perfect for what we need. We don't have any fullback depth at all, and this guy can play both sides. But we'll probably get into that a little bit further. But as far as Bayern Munich, this is something they've needed. I mean, to have Alphonso Davies and Joao Cancelo as your fullbacks, those are two of the best attacking fullbacks in the world. And Alphonso Davies can defend, and Joao Cancelo is fairly good at defending. Is he as good as Alphonso Davies? No, but he's no slouch. That's probably the best fullback pairing in the world at the moment. I mean, I can't really think of. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool may possibly, but I mean, not with bad form. They're not the same. But it's definitely up there, and I think it's a great move for Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is obviously trying to make a push in the Champions League. They're all probably most definitely going to win the German league, whatever. And what a surprise, through a parade, but they're trying to make a Champions League run, and this is the signing that you need to make to do that.
Yeah, and look, this is one that came out of nowhere, like we said. This is something I woke up 7 a.m. the day this happened, and I checked my phone, and I was like, "What? Am I reading this wrong?" Like I had to wipe my eyes. I was like, "Am I reading this wrong?" And then obviously it all came out. He had a bust up Pep Guardiola, and no player is bigger than the club. Pep said, "Off you go," and he went. So for Manchester City, look, I know they pride themselves on depth and things like that. I still think that this is a mistake. And look, they might prove me wrong. They might win the Premier League without him, and look, so be it. I think that they do not have the fullback depth right now to just say, okay, there you go, bye-bye, Joao Cancelo. No matter what you think about him, because even, with people have always questioned his defensive skills. People have always questioned him. But whether you like it or not, 1 season ago, we were talking about this guy as the best fullback in the world. That's what it is. He was in that conversation. And then he has a bad World Cup, and then, falls out of favor with Pep Guardiola, and now he's gone. Manchester City, they could not realistically, even if he's on the bench as a rotation player, they couldn't afford to lose this, because now I feel like they're one injury away from on the fullback position from being pretty much screwed.
Yeah, because I mean,
the youth academy.
Kyle Walker is a bit injury prone. I mean, he's older, and they're
playing Ake.
They're playing Ake, and I don't really get it.
He's been playing well, but like I said, they're an injury away. I think they could have used the depth of.
And Ake is such a different player to what I think Pep would really want. I mean, if you think about it, Pep has always had Dani Alves, or Jordi Alba, or even like a Philipp Lahm at Bayern Munich, and guys like that. So I don't know if he thinks he can make it work, and maybe they can. I mean, City have won titles without Joao Cancelo, so it's not like it's impossible, but it's like something that I feel like didn't have to happen, but maybe it got so bad to where it needed to happen. I mean, it's probably more of a major win for Bayern than it is for City.
So look, it's not completely end of the world for Man City, but I do think they might regret letting him go. But for Bayern Munich, this is like having a player that's just on bad form, but we know he can be world class. Look, form is temporary, class is permanent. That's something that remains true in football. And it's not every day that a world-class fullback falls into your lap like this. And that's exactly what happened.
He's only 28 years old. I mean,
exactly. This is supposed to be his prime.
3 good seasons. He has 3 top seasons at the top level still to offer.
So for Bayern Munich, first of all, this was a no-brainer for them. I mean, for me, once you hear about this, every club should have been calling Man City asking about him.
I mean, we'll get into a club they did call, but we'll talk about that.
For Bayern Munich, this is look, they're not going to have trouble necessarily winning the Bundesliga. Even though they've been on bad form recently, they've been drawing a lot of games. They're going to win the Bundesliga. They would have won it with or without Joao Cancelo. But in the Champions League, this is a huge signing for them, because if he can pick up his form, and I believe he will, this definitely cements them as potentially having the best fullback pairing in the world. That cements the Bayern Munich defense. If you're looking at Bayern Munich, the one thing that they kind of lacked right now was a right back. Now, like you said, Alphonso Davies and Joao Cancelo, that is like extremely good. Arguably the best in the world.
Yeah, that is the best fullback pairing in the world.
So for them, it's a no-brainer, a dub for them. And then obviously they have the option, if he does play well, to sign him fully in the summer for 70 million.
Yeah, for 70 odd million.
And if he really is, if he continues to be ass, then it would be one of the biggest fall from graces of all time, potentially in football.
Yeah.
But they're not obligated to keep him. He goes back to Man City, and then they sell him for less than 70 million. Obviously, he'd probably be like 30, maybe. I mean, he'd be lucky to get 30 if he's that ass.
If like his current value right now, I would say probably around 50 million as of right now. But we know the ceilings. Yeah, based on his form right now.
And that's why they put it at 70 million, because they expect probably
they know like that's what the level this guy can hit.
So I mean, for Bayern Munich, this is just like, it's a no-brainer. And I'm not a Bayern Munich fan, but if I was, I would be extremely pleased with this, because this is literally something that they knew they needed, but they weren't planning on addressing it. But like I said, it fell into their lap and they pulled the trigger. And you got to give props to that board, because it's not every day. We're going to get into it. One board who didn't pull the trigger. It's not every day a world-class player falls into your lap like this, and then they pushed and got it done. There was Barcelona interested. There was other clubs interested in Bayern Munich. They got the deal done. Props to them. Like for me, like I said, head scratcher for Man City, but for Bayern Munich, amazing deal. Got to give them their props.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about a lot of clubs who've done great business, a lot of winners, and I think it's time to talk about what most definitely is the real loser here. And it's something that, I don't know, we touched upon it, but now with circumstances that are developing, it looks like Madrid are in a bit of a crisis. Look, I don't understand why the board has decided not to make any signings. They've kind of stuck their feet in their place and say, you know what, we don't need any signings. I don't know if they're watching any Madrid games. We are almost down to just an 11-man squad. We literally almost have nobody. Everybody's dropping like flies. We have no Tchouaméni. We have no Alaba. We're out Mendy. We're out Dani Carvajal. We're out Lucas Vazquez. We're out our key players that we need to even compete. I mean, I can't even remember the Madrid looks unrecognizable from even earlier season before the World Cup, when we were top of the league and we just spanked Barcelona in El Clasico 3-1. I don't get what has happened to that. I get Madrid. Madrid are a team that don't really do their business in January. We've never really done business in January. We always wait to the summer. That's what we are. But when the circumstances call for change, it has to happen. Like, yes, we don't like doing business in January. That's not what we do. I mean, last time we did business in January was like 2007 when we got Marcelo. I mean, that was like what one of our greatest moves. But we don't necessarily like to do our business in January. Yeah, there was talks of Jude Bellingham, but I kind of knew that those were never going to be serious, because we signed our big players in the summer. But I would have thought maybe with the circumstances that are hitting us, that maybe we need to make some signings to keep this season afloat, because I can almost not even say that we're going to beat Barcelona in the Copa del Rey, because we have no one. Where everybody's hurt. I mean, we are one injury away from absolute doomsday. We are one injury away from just basically using our second Castilla team. I mean, this is horrible. I mean, Alaba I don't know what's going on. He has a recurring thing. And Mendy now is out for 2 months. And I don't understand. Joao Cancelo's agent reaches out to Madrid and the board just say, no? What do you mean no? Why? Look, even if we don't want to sign him, they're not saying we have to sign him. We can loan him for the season. Just loan him. We need to fix a problem now. And that's what loans are meant to do. But they don't even want to loan. And I think the main culprit is our new stadium. I mean, Florentino Perez is basically building the greatest stadium to ever grace planet Earth, but it's at a cost to where we can't do any business right now. I mean, we're basically counting all our pennies. We're breaking the piggy banks right now for the hope that we can have some type of money in the summer, because we've put all our money into the stadium.
And that Jude Bellingham price tag is going up.
And Jude Bellingham, and I mean, Vlahovic wanted to come to Madrid, but Madrid just straight up said no. They just say, you know what, we don't want him. Like, our depth is so bad. It's not good at all. And even another one, like Jorginho. Like, Jorginho's 12 odd million. I mean, he's not, obviously not going to be a future of our club, but we are in a crisis to where Tchouaméni's hurt. Ceballos, he's not the greatest. Toni Kroos and Modric are like 100 years old combined. I mean,
you never know if they're going to pick up a knock.
they could pick up a knock and they could be out for the whole season. I mean, these guys are not the young men that they were when we signed them. And I don't understand what's going on. It's head scratching. I don't know if they're just waiting for the summer, but if they're gonna wait for the summer, you better make up for this absolute cataclysmic mistake that is not doing any signings in January, because I can't see us really competing in the league or in the Champions League because everybody's hurt. I mean, Rodrigo picked up a knock in the game in the Copa del Rey, and I thought, oh my God, he just came on and scored this brilliant of a goal, but he's already got a knock. And you immediately think, who's gonna fill that spot? We don't have anybody. There's nobody, and we're put in a horrible position, and it came out of nowhere. But this is what happens. We got hit with a bad injury bug, and that's what January is meant for. January is meant for if you get hit bad with injuries, you make a couple loans, you make a couple like Hakim Ziyech. Like, yeah, his deal with PSG just fell through, but why not pick him up for a loan? Just pick him up. Bernardo Silva was on the market, wanting to be sold. Barcelona wanted him. That's a guy we can get. But I don't get why the board is just so stubborn. They don't want to sign anybody that they're like, we'll just make it work. Even Ancelotti, to certain points, said, we're fine. We don't need nobody. I don't know if this is just trying to, protect the fandom or protect the players. I don't know who they're protecting, but it's not gonna end up well for the club this season. It's not looking good.
I think Ancelotti knew deep down that there wasn't going to be any signings. I mean, he had definitely talked to Perez, and Perez kind of told him, look, it's not happening, bro. I don't care what happens. It ain't happening. So he knew, and I think he kind of accepted it to a certain extent. But for me, look, I'm not a Real Madrid fan. Obviously, you are. But I see this Real Madrid news, and I see the news that they turned down Joao Cancelo, and I scratch my head. Joao Cancelo, like you said, would have been absolutely perfect for Real Madrid. He was right there. It fell into your lap. Man City said, we don't want him. Somebody take him. Real Madrid desperately needed fullback help. I mean, look, they are playing Camavinga at left back, who is literally a central midfielder. He's a great left back so far. I mean, he's done a job, but he's a central midfielder. And then on the right side, I mean, Carvajal is like 500 years old, and he's been on bad form anyway. They needed right back help, and they needed a proper left back because now Mendy's hurt for 2 months, and Joao Cancelo was there, and they said, nah. And you didn't even have to buy him. You didn't have to pay $70 million for him. All you had to do was loan him. And they said, nah, I don't understand it. Real Madrid board, Perez, the board, I don't know who to blame. I'm going to blame both of them. This is an absolute disgrace. I'm not even a Real Madrid fan, and I'm like, if I was, I would be so upset. I would be like, disgraced. This is a disgrace of the club, and I just don't quite get it. I understand that the stadium is expensive. I understand that they're trying to build arguably the greatest stadium in football today. I think when it all comes together, it probably will be, because it looks absolutely beautiful, but it is not worth
like 3 pitches on it or some shit. Like,
yeah, it's a beautiful stadium, but it's not worth this. I mean, Perez is essentially costing Real Madrid the opportunity to win La Liga and the Champions League because he wants the stadium done. And Real Madrid, for me, they are at a real risk of not winning any trophies this season. And as we all know, for many clubs, that's okay because, there's a lot of competition. But they cannot lose La Liga to Barcelona. That's especially this current Barcelona. Like, this was unexpected. They cannot do that. And then, look, if you're not going to win La Liga, you have to win the Champions League. And that's, I don't know, based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't think that's going to happen either. Real Madrid are in a crisis. This is a crisis. And I put the blame on the board. I put the blame on Florentino Perez. And ultimately, I mean, there's no way they can fix it now. They just have to hope they get healthy. And the way it's looking right now, look, Alaba, he gets close to being fit, picks up another injury. So it's like they aren't getting lucky, and they aren't being proactive. That's my issue right here. That's my issue. Real Madrid were not proactive in the transfer window. They had the opportunity to prepare for any other future injuries or extended injuries, like Alaba, for example, re-picking up an injury. They could have prepared for this. Instead, they have basically put all their eggs in the basket of, our guys are going to get fit, not pick up any more injuries, and then we can compete. That's bold right now based on what I'm seeing. I mean, that's bold to say that that's going to happen. Real Madrid, in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing right now, I'm going to say this. Real Madrid will not win any trophies this season. They aren't winning the Champions League. They aren't winning La Liga. The gap between them and Barcelona is only getting bigger. And Barcelona are now getting Lewandowski back. I mean, they won the last 3 games without him. Real Madrid are on the decline right now, albeit because of injuries. They're on the decline and Barcelona are on the incline. And, whether or not they might beat Liverpool because Liverpool are arguably in a bigger crisis than Madrid right now. But, I mean, we don't know who they're going to play. I mean, look, if they draw against a Man City, a Bayern Munich, a PSG in the quarterfinals, and they have this amount of injuries, you never want to say they have no chance, but I think they might have no chance. I mean, with the way the defense is looking and the lack of midfield help, I mean, basically you're going to rely on Benzema to basically turn back the clock to last season when he was winning the Ballon d'Or and basically saving the team again. That's what you're going to rely on. For me, Real Madrid are in a crisis, and Perez, the blame is on you.
And like you said, we are in a very dire situation because, I mean, if we are unfit like this, we're not going to win anything. But obviously, there's that. If we can just get fit, then we'll be 100%.
I agree.
Because our team is good enough. I mean, our defense, when Alaba, because the problem is that if it were Rudiger, it would be fine. If it was Militao, we'd be fine. But the fact that it's Alaba, our guy that's our most dynamic defender and the guy who is the spearhead of our defense, is just the worst thing because he can play left back. He's played left back a majority of his career, and he can play center back. And he led our defense into winning a Champions League. But the fact that we lost him and we lost Tchouaméni, the guy who is leading our midfield, we lost 2 of our key leaders. I mean, the only real guy we have left is Karim Benzema and Thibaut Courtois. And Vinny has been playing all right, but I mean, there's only so much you can do when, I mean, you have almost no fullback presence at all, no fullback help, and your midfield is just getting outran. I mean, we're not able to have Tchouaméni to pick up the slack for Luka Modric and Toni Kroos, who don't move as much as they used to. We've decided to slide Fede Valverde back in the midfield, hoping he can find some of that form that he had before pre-World Cup. Yeah. And I think they can do that, but they just need to stay healthy because I think Rodrigo should be starting every single game. Based on form and just how the skill that he has. No one has the on-ball skill that Rodrigo has. The problem is he's just inconsistent. And yes, maybe we do need to upgrade on that position in the summer, but for this moment, he should be starting every game. The front three should be Vinny, Benzema, and Rodrigo. You put Valverde in that midfield because I just don't think Kroos and Modric is not good enough to be playing together anymore.
One or the other, probably, yeah.
They're too old. You have one or the other. You can get away with having a Modric in, and then you switch them out for Kroos later on, or vice versa. But they cannot do it. I mean, we saw what happened to them when they played El Clasico. They looked every bit of 85 years old. They looked like my grandfather.
They got outran by that Barcelona midfield. That's obviously extremely young.
You have to have Fede Valverde and Tchouaméni, guys who can keep up with Gavi, with Pedri. They can try and stay with those guys, but Madrid are in a bad spot, and they are just holding out hope that they can somehow find a way to get fit again. Maybe they have the fountain of youth. Maybe they have something. I don't know. This board is doing some witchcraft. I don't know. But from a fan's perspective, this is an absolute nightmare. And I don't know. We drew our last game, and we're just, Ancelotti said we played well, but we're playing uninspired football. I mean, and I can't imagine the energy in the locker room is any better because you look around each other and you're just missing so many players that you had when you went on that Champions League run, when you won La Liga. So it's hard to overcome that. Yeah.
And look, for me, look, I I'm not a Real Madrid fan, so I don't particularly care if they sign Jude Bellingham or not. But for you, if I was you, I would be sitting there and I'd be saying, look, Perez, you've potentially cost us the ability to win any trophies this season. You better make up for this by getting Jude Bellingham in the summer. Because hold on, if they somehow don't get Jude Bellingham and they let him go to Liverpool, I mean, who are they getting? Who is their star signing? Who is their big transfer that is going to
Rafael Leao?
I mean,
I guess, but there's no one else really. They have to get Jude Bellingham. Yeah, there's no one else really available because Kylian Mbappe, that's done. That's not happening. And like you said, maybe Rafael Leao, possibly. I don't know. But Jude Bellingham is the guy that we need. In the summer, he owes us Jude Bellingham to a certain extent. He has to make the move for Jude because that's exactly what the doctor ordered. That's what we need to fix our current problems because Modric and Cruz, like it's no secret they're out the door, and we have good young players in midfield, but we're missing that one guy that's polished like a Jude Bellingham. Yes, is he going to be 150 plus million? Most likely, yes. So you're going to have to splash the cash, because if you're not going to spend it on Jude, who else are you going to get? I mean, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get Hakimi. We're not going to pay 100 million for Hakimi, because I just don't think that's what we're going to do. We're probably going to try and sign a right back from another Spanish team that's, some young player. I don't know. But other than that, maybe Rafael Leao, like I was saying, possibly, but it's all only due time could tell. But I do know that's when Madrid like to do their business, in the summer, and I expect them to always do what they do. We make moves in the summer.
Yeah, and look, like I said, right now Madrid I think are in a crisis, but this crisis can be solved as simply as boom. If they get fit, they're not in a crisis anymore, because they still, I think, look, if they can somehow, if you have a magician wave the magic wand and everyone on Real Madrid gets healthy, they immediately go back in contention to win the Champions League. But even for next season, I mean, if we're looking at Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Bellingham in the midfield, I mean, look, they immediately solve their crisis, and they go back to being the Real Madrid we know and kind of love. I mean, depends on your perspective. But the Real Madrid we know, maybe not love.
The Madrid that's known.
Yeah. But I think obviously that's pretty much a lot of the main talking points of what happened at transfer deadline day. I think obviously normally probably not this much excitement, not this much big news on January deadline day. I mean, normally in the summer look, on summer you could talk about it for hours, that's how many big moves made. But January, I tip my cap. These clubs have made January exciting, and that's something that everyone can be happy about. Whether, if you're a football fan, I think you can be excited for how many moves were made, and everyone loves transfers, so.
Yeah, and that definitely, I mean, this is the season where Ronaldo left United to Saudi Arabia. I mean, so many clubs poaching each other's signings. I mean, it's just what was expected. Yeah, hijacking deals. I mean, it's just, even PSG's shithousery. I mean, with not their fault. It's Chelsea's fault. I mean, that is a good laugh. I mean, I thought I'd never see something that reminded me of the David De Gea thing where the fax machine broke, but Chelsea were just sending PSG the wrong information for Ziyech. I mean,
they were
literally
so focused, yeah.
The front office was just not giving a shit. They were just like, you know what, we're trying to sign this guy. All our attention's in Portugal. Before Hakim Ziyech is right now sitting in Paris right now, probably in the PSG facility, and he just has to go home. He just has to go home now.
He was literally thinking like, oh man, I get to meet Messi, Neymar, Mbappe. I get to play with these guys, and now he's gonna have to go back and play with Kai Havertz.
He has to go back to a team that's he's not going to play for at all. I mean, they're not.
He thought he was getting a trophy. He was like, "Oh, I'm getting the League One trophy this year." Now he's going back to being 10. I mean,
now he's going to go back to sitting
he might. Hey, at the end of the season, he might be getting a Champions League medal because of this. So.
Well, he's already won the Champions League. He has. I mean, technically, he does.
But he'll be good to get another one because
I don't think he's getting another one.
We'll see. I
don't think he's getting another one.
We'll see. That's a conversation that is going to be had very soon. Champions League starts in 2 weeks? Champions League is in like 2 weeks.
I think so. Yeah.
So, watch out for that on the channel. We'll be doing our Champions League round of 16 predictions video, and you can definitely expect that to come out. I don't know exactly when, but very, very soon, because it is happening very, very soon. But I think before we ramble on too much longer here, we can go ahead and officially close this one up and say goodbye to the January transfer window officially.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it was fun, but I'm ready to get back into the thick of things, get back in the Champions League, and start to see what club will emerge.
Yeah. So obviously, like we said at the beginning of the video, we just wanted to thank y'all for the continued support we've been getting. Obviously, we are vastly approaching the 1,000 subscriber goal. So if you did enjoy our transfer deadline day special, drop a like on the video, hit the subscribe button, comment down below what you thought the best signing of January was. Was it a Chelsea signing? Was it someone else? Let me know in the comments down below. Let G know, and let us know what you thought. I just say let me know, but let us know, and let us know what you thought about anything else we said. Were we wrong? Were we right? Let us know in the comments down below. We love the engagement, and that's ultimately what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did recently just start our second channel, Shoot It Straight 2, where we I've separated to talk about more American sports. So if you do like the All American sport, or you want to learn, come join us there. You know, we're still new. I think we have about 25 subscribers, growing. We want to grow that one just like this one.
Yep.
But it's just more towards the American audience that like the sport, or maybe even people that want to just learn and have an idea of what it is. But we love talking about all sports, so we just wanted to talk about it all.
Yeah, obviously over there you can expect a heavy dose of NFL, NBA, and boxing, things like that. All the things that, you know, are very prevalent here in America, and obviously, you know, well, I mean, boxing's prevalent everywhere, but you get the point.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
But look, thank y'all for the continued support. We will be back very soon with more content, another episode. But I'm your co-host Zach.
I'm your co-host G.
And we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.